Final hour overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Jamie Noodles, McLennan. We got Jim Ralph coming up later in the hour. Ralphie and Bonesy will have the call tonight. Leafs Panthers game 1, 8 p.m. puck drop. Prime time. It's like Monday Night Football.
It is.
It's great. I love it. And selfishly, I really love it because I'm going down to the game and I don't have to sweat it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not only will I not be late, I'll be able to get in there, a little stop and chat.
Yeah, relax.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself.
Pizza kicking around. I saw the ice cream fridge.
Did you?
I took a picture of it, actually, and I never sent it to you guys. But the world-famous ice cream fridge, which I'm sure the tap man is probably getting into right now. Although I got to stop because you referenced a couple of my tweets over the weekend that bothered people, apparently.
The ice cream truck in front of your house?
This ice cream truck is driving me insane because... for starters, it's got the new jingle, and then it's got this voice that says "hello," like so it starts blurting out "hello," so everyone can hear it.
Yes, exactly.
And it stops in front of my house every single night, just as we're about to sit down for dinner. Now there's a million kids in my little area, which we got a great street. All our neighbors are amazing, but I got this instinct, which I think every parent has, and every dad definitely has. I can hear this thing like coming off the 401.
Yeah, exactly.
I know this guy's en route. And I hear the jingle and I look for my kids because I know what's coming. The second they hear it, bedlam.
Yeah.
They could be eating ice cream.
Yeah.
And they're like, I got to be outside and I got to connect with this guy. And he's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Because he knows exactly what he did. He's parking right in front of my house and I swear he just stares at me through the window and I'm staring him down. I'm like, what are you doing?
Tell him to move along. I
don't know if I'm allowed to do that. What is the rule of thumb for telling the ice cream truck guy, you got to get away from my house? Give me a week off.
Well,
I'll support your business.
But why can't he turn left? Like I know where you live. He can go.
He could go left.
He can go the other way.
But the sound rings out, dude.
I know.
The guy could honestly he could be in your neighborhood. My kids would be like, I think the ice cream truck's over there.
I know, but there's nothing you can do, but it's obviously a hot spot, so he keeps circling back.
Oh, it's the hottest spot going because he always gets hit.
Yeah,
like there's kids, one of the houses is coming out.
Right.
It's like 4 kids, 2 kids, 2 kids, 3 kids, 3 kids, 2 kids. Like it's just, there's a cul-de-sac there of just business.
So it's a hot spot.
Cash
it's a hot spot. So it's a cash cow. Yeah. And the parents are in there too. It's not just the kids. The parents are like, give me one.
I complain, and then when I do go out there and hey, how's it going? All right, I'll grab one of those. Yeah, like I'm all in too. I'm not going to lie about that. Yes, it's just every single day. My kids are young enough where they don't understand. It's ridiculous to ask for that every single day.
Yes,
and then it's a fight because I'm like, no, you're not getting this. And the jingle's playing,
and
in the background.
He's out honking the horn,
and hello, and the horn's honking. I'm like, and then he'll button hook and circle back.
Of course, because he doesn't want he wants your money. He wants everybody else's.
He knows
money.
what he's doing. He's an entrepreneur, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I had to
get away from my house for a while.
I rented an ice cream truck for my son's birthday last year.
Yeah,
you can pay them, and it's not cheap, but they come and set up on your driveway, and like all the kids, 23 kids or whatever, they get whatever they want.
Brilliant.
And it's like we'll give you a 2-hour window.
Yeah.
So the kids just eat until they puke, basically. But this guy was gutless, and I got into it with him, and I'll tell you why. He was supposed to arrive. You're supposed to arrive at a certain time.
Yeah.
Because you get a window. He calls me and goes, I ran out of gas. I'm like, no, you don't run out of gas.
Come on, dude.
You know what he did? He stopped somewhere else first.
Oh, for sure. He had that jingle going. Probably at my house.
Well, and then
he was probably at my house.
People wanted to leave. I'm like, we got an ice cream truck coming.
You want to hang around? Stick around.
You got to stick around. The guy showed up like 90 minutes late.
Yeah, ran out of gas.
I'm like, no, you didn't. Just admit. Like I even said to him, just admit you went somewhere else first. You double booked yourself to make double the money.
Absolutely.
No, ran out of gas. I go, okay, well, why don't you FaceTime me from there? Show me that you ran out of gas.
Oh, I love it. I love how sneaky it is.
And then he's like, I'll discount you a bit. I'm like, it's too late. Yeah. You're here. You got me. You hooked me.
Yeah. You're in, man. Hook, line, and sinker.
Then, I looked like a bad parent. I'm arguing with the ice cream guy, but he was being shady. I called him out.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like, am I out of line by saying, just giving him a wave, say, hey, get out of here.
Move along. You know what you got to do is you got to start parking your car on the street where he can't be like.
I know, but this guy maneuvers, dude. He'll park on my lawn if he has to.
That's true.
He will be on my grass.
Good on.
There's me and the ice cream truck guy. Me,
just
the
nose
Rock
to
and
nose.
Hulk Hogan last night. I'm just like, dude, you got to get out of here.
Nose to nose. It's fine.
Anyway.
Good on them.
Anyway, he's an entrepreneur. I try to support as much as I can. It's just, at some point you got to move on a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, just admit you shrunk the shirt. It feels like a Seinfeld.
It was.
Just admit you shrunk the shirt.
I just wanted him to say, like, listen, I did. I wanted to make a few extra bucks. I stopped.
Yeah. I had a park that was going crazy, and I didn't leave.
But like, what happened is he double booked, and then he lied to me, and I called him out on it.
That's right.
That was it.
Okay. All right, Chris Johnston. We have no idea when CJ. Just get rid of CJ.
He's
Who
busy.
Cares? All right, so CJ's not coming on today. We'll get to Ralphie. Ralphie will come up a little bit
Ralphie
later.
will come up, but listen, I understand this is game one of the second
Everyone's
round.
jacked up down there.
And it's all hands on deck. So I guarantee you there's a queue for SportsCenter.
Well, I know what's coming after the game, too, because I'm going down, and the way it works is after the game, there's the camera guys are down there, and you got to be in the room, you got to get the coaches' podiums, right, and then you got to get out and set up. And I know what we just posted, The Rock and Hulk Hogan, that'll be me and CJ post game because CJ's got to write something.
Right.
So he's like, I got to
Let's
tape.
get going here.
Yeah.
He's got a deadline.
Understandably. And I don't have a deadline. I'll wait for him, and I took one for the team in game 2, I think. I was like, you go ahead, all good. Tonight, we'll see. I'm going to have to put my stake in the ground.
Thing is, 8 o'clock start. That's an hour later into your post game, regardless.
Oh, I'm not going to be up until like 11. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe it goes to overtime tonight.
I have a feeling. I don't know.
You got an overtime vibe tonight?
I just had a tight game vibe. I don't know. People have asked me, what do you think? I don't want to say because I feel like I'm not lying. I feel like I've been wrong the whole time.
There's some crazy brackets out there,
which
that are way off.
And it's
that's the beauty of the sport.
It is. It's not like Florida Tampa. I felt it was a coin flip, anyways. But watching Tampa, watching Florida. I saw them live twice in like a week and a half. I'm like, God, they're both serious teams. I like Tampa. The Vasilevsky's having a good year. I'm like, you know what? I picked Tampa, and I picked Tampa in my bracket. I picked Winnipeg and Tampa to go to the final. Those are the two teams that I felt and just really good about having seen them and gone through it. Tampa's gone. Winnipeg was 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I would have them lower down against Dallas, Edmonton, Vegas. Like, I might have them, in the 4-hole on that.
Yeah. Oh, I think so. I think they're. I think they're probably worthy of that because we don't know about Scheifele and Morrissey and how is Hellebuyck going to play.
Exactly. So you're going into it. Now, all of a sudden, they might be world beaters, and that was the adversity they had to deal with, and away they go.
Well, and with the Leafs, like I remember 2 years ago when they beat Tampa, I thought that was going to be a monkey off the back situation. Right. I thought that would launch them into a deep run.
Right.
And I was wrong, and credit Florida because Florida did not blow them out in that series.
No,
they just smothered them. And I want to say Florida won the first game 2-1 or something. The second game was 3-2 where the Leafs had a lead. And then game 5 was in overtime.
Yeah.
Like Nick Cousins wins it in overtime. So, and the same thing with Tampa. Like Tampa didn't get blown out. I think it was 4-1 one of the games and empty netters. But Florida plays a system that screams like under the number, 2-1, 3-2, probably a race to 3.
Yeah,
and we spoke with Bill Lindsay last week, and Bill did say, and this is easier said than done. Probably applies to every team, but you're looking for cracks in the system here.
Yeah,
that if you can get a lead on Florida, it takes them out of the comfort zone.
Right,
because then they got to cheat.
Yeah,
because they don't cheat. Like they're happy to. They're very comfortable. 1-1 third period. They're happy with. They're fine with that.
Yeah.
And they're going to clog up the neutral zone, and they're going to left wing lock it, or whatever they're going to do.
Yeah, there's not a lot of space.
There's not a lot of space. So if you're the Leafs, now this is your game plan every single game, but if you got to find a way to make them uncomfortable, because they don't. Florida would be capable of getting back into games. Clearly, they have the talent to do that, but it's a scenario where they haven't really had to deal with that. They haven't been uncomfortable, And to the credit of the Maple Leafs. They didn't really, I didn't think they were uncomfortable in the first round. it got dicey. They didn't play well in Game 5. Game 6, it was too late. But I felt like they played composed and they looked mature and they looked prepared throughout the series.
Right.
And you've got to apply that against Florida here.
You do.
You got to prove that you're in it to win it and that you're comfortable with whichever game is thrown your way.
Well, and adapt to it. Like, really, that's the beauty of it is I don't know how many times I said it in that first round. It's like, it's a game of inches. It's a detail here. It's a detail there. And you can circle it afterwards and go, okay, there it was. There was the difference in that game. This mistake, this great play, this, lucky bounce or this screen play or that type of stuff. That's really what it comes down to, is a game of inches and a game of mistakes and taking advantage of it. Discipline's going to be huge. I know everyone talks about the big bad Florida Panthers. You can't play that way if you want to march. You're going to march to the penalty box. You have to find a way to play hard, whistle to whistle, mean, but whistle. And same thing with the Leafs. Counter that. Now, the Leafs in the first game against Ottawa was trying to make a statement, trying to be physical, going out of their way for extra hits. And what happened is they took 4 penalties in the offensive zone, and the Leafs' power play killed them. And Ottawa's power play went 0 for 3 that night. Mm-hmm. Special teams were the story of that particular game. But then after that, it kind of evened out. I think, from games 2 to 6, the penalties weren't out of whack. It was, maybe you didn't like a call here or there, but it was pretty evenly called.
Yep.
I thought the refs did a really good job. That's the one thing, in watching that game last night and even the Dallas game, like the refs weren't the storyline. Like they did a good job.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
because there were penalties.
Oh, especially in the Winnipeg game, like they put the whistles away.
Right,
there were some like trips,
clear-cut trips, were and a little hook here and
and they said no, we're not going to do it.
They said you guys decided we're not going to be the storyline here unless you fire it over the glass.
Puck over the glass, Braden Shen. That was the only one.
Which you're right, like, and you can see the look on his face. Like he's a warrior. I love Braden.
He was so nervous.
Well, he
knew it went right over.
He skated to the penalty box with his head down.
Yeah, and he didn't dispute anything.
No, he didn't lift his head once.
I know
He's like, I just fired this straight into the crowd.
Yeah,
and it was a really tough angle.
Weird angle, man. I couldn't believe he missed the boards.
I thought it hit the glass. Like I only had that.
Like he was as deep in the corner as you can get.
Yeah, and
like from a physics standpoint, it was like, how did that not hit the glass?
I know.
But it didn't.
But that's, coming back to any series, especially this one tonight, it is going to be the game of inches. It's going to be, a hard-fought battle here or there. And that's when the tactical stuff comes in. If Chief doesn't like what he's seeing, is he going to mix some lines up, move some players around? Like, at this point, you're not saving stuff. You're going, okay, I need to do tonight to try and get the win.
Do you think he'll play guys more than he did in the first round?
I think there will be.
Like he was pretty committed to rolling lines and rolling deep pairings, and everything was pretty consistent.
I think there will be times where he feels like he can find extra shifts, an extra shift here. Hey, we got an offensive zone draw, and I want my 4th line out there, or I want my 3rd line out there, but I'm going to pull this guy off. I'm pulling Holmberg off and putting Nylander there, or whatever. I think that's the tactical part. When you do have last change, you've got to manipulate because that's, Paul Maurice is going to do that in Florida. So that's the biggest challenge for, Craig Berube, and he does that well. Right now it's, hey, it looks 1, 2, 3, 4, or you find extra shifts for that top line or whatever. But in the end, yes, you use your depth, but now if it's a scenario where you need a little spark, need a little something, why not?
Yeah.
That's the way I'd look at
it. I totally agree. I think he believes in balance, especially a long series.
Yeah.
Like you look at LA ran out of gas a little bit. I think Minnesota had a shorter bench. They ran out of gas.
Yeah.
Winnipeg, to an extent, to their credit, they got through it, but they had injuries and all that, which, if you had to play another game, you wonder how could this possibly work. It is a long series, and I thought Berube, I thought did a really good job. It was really cool insight that the Leafs, had him mic'd up after the game, after they beat Ottawa in 6, and the Leafs posted it on their socials where he said, you basically prepare for every series to be a long series. Like you go into it thinking that way. So think it's going to be 6 or 7. And if he's showing you kind of into his world and his thought process, he is thinking
He's not shortening the bench tonight.
Maybe you don't shorten the bench in game 1 because you're going to need those guys in game 6 or 7.
Well, keep in mind, if you get some overtime games, that's extra
another
minutes,
thing.
Right?
Exactly. Like you rack up minutes and minutes and minutes, and that's another thing about the perseverance of Winnipeg, to their credit, because they got hit so many times, like so many massive hits and injuries, and it was crazy. It never stopped, and you just chip away and chip away and chip away, and that's what Paul Maurice has been telling his team in Florida for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Remember that famous thing? Forget the plays. Stop making plays.
Yeah, there'll be nothing left of them by game 7.
Hit everything in sight, and by game 7, these guys will have nothing left. Yeah. That's what Florida's going to be thinking.
Right.
I'm sure Craig Berube's aware that that's what they're going to be thinking, but the Leafs have to have the same logic.
Sure.
Go hit these guys. Hit Forsling every chance you get. Hit Seth Jones every single chance you get. Hit them every time you get a chance, because every time you can chip away, it counts for something by the end of the series.
It does. And, and that's where, right now you've got, like, Forsling he's a hell of a defender.
Yeah,
that's the guy that was assigned to McDavid pretty much, and Draisaitl, and he did a number on them. But, like, you don't have Ekblad tonight. It's a big blow. He's a big part of their D.
Yep.
Jones is a nice player. He's really settled in there. But that's you've got to try and manipulate any little matchup you can get. And now that you speak about it, you're right. I don't think it's a shorten the bench immediately and push for it. But if I keep coming back to, if there's an opportunity and you can, like, you feel like that's the difference in the game, you have to do it, like on this particular night. And then you reset and go back. It might be a different mentality. What did we say when Max Pacioretty went in? Because everyone's like, oh, just stick with the same lineup. And I was like, no, I think he felt like on the road he'd need a little heavier body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, Robertson out, Pacioretty, heavier body. First game, all right, solid. Second game, legs are there, bumps up. Difference maker.
Yep.
Right? So it's adjustments. We're going to see a lot of them, but it's all going to get laid out tonight, and then it starts. It's like,
that's the beauty of resetting a series, man. Like, I joked about it. It wasn't even a joke. It was kind of depressing a couple of years ago, where I said, we've been doing this show for so long, we've never had the opportunity to reset a series. And we got it 2 years ago, and it ended quickly.
Yeah.
Now, here we are again. Now you're facing the same opponent, but you get to reset and you restart, and game 1 is, you plant the seeds for how this series is going to play out. Yeah. Incredibly important to win game 1. Like, Doogie sent us a stat. The Panthers are 9-1. I guess, is that in the last couple of years, I believe? Or maybe in the last few years, whatever. 9-1 in a series in which they win game 1.
Right.
So, now, again, one team got them.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Maybe that was Vegas in the Cup final. It probably was Vegas in the Cup final. But it says something about what we've been talking, like, on a micro and macro level. Micro, they're very comfortable with 2-1, 3-2, clog it up, make it difficult. If they're up in the series, that allows them to feel that much more comfortable.
It is.
Incredibly important for the Leafs to play well and win tonight.
Well, it's just important on a lot of different levels, is to establish your game and what you're going to do in this series. And get your confidence going and get everything kind of going. And I think you can't look back, you got to look forward. Hey, we did this against Ottawa. Great, different team. And that's, Florida's a different team. Florida can go, hey, we did this against Tampa. Okay, great. Leafs are a different team. Yep. So you've got to, it'd be fascinating, the pre-scouts and how they want to approach on certain things, because they are different teams.
Yep. Well, Jimmy Ralph is going to have a part of the call tonight. He and Joe Bowen right here on TSN Radio will head down to Scotiabank, catch up with Ralphie, get his take from everything from the goaltending to the deep pairings to the forward lines to special teams. How important is game 1 tonight? Jimmy Ralph will join us from the arena. We'll do that next. All right, best bets later in the hour. Leafs Panthers tonight. Game 1, 8 p.m. puck drop right here on TSN Radio. I am quite curious to see what the crowd is like tonight. Monday night, 8 p.m., but we got second round here. I mean, come on. It was fiery for game 1. That was a Sunday. It's a great atmosphere down there for game 1 against Ottawa.
Ticket prices go up for round 2?
Oh, absolutely. Significantly up.
Do they?
Yes.
I don't know.
They never stay the same or go down. I can guarantee you that.
They're not going down.
With every round, it's just a little bit more money.
Yeah.
A little bit more money.
Yeah.
All right, so the game is on TSN Radio tonight. Joe Bowen, Jim Ralph with the call. Let's head down to the rink. Here is our good friend Jimmy Ralph. How are we feeling, Ralphie?
You really asked if the ticket prices went up?
I did.
Noodles is an athlete. He never has to buy anything. That's
I'm just saying. Like all I can think about is that the prices go up. Those platinum seats.
Everything's
people
more
will be in that club eating roast beef. They got to be out there cheering. That's my point.
But Noodles, they go up because it's November. So
by month they go up. You're right about that.
Yeah, I would anticipate that there's going to be a little noise. I don't. It is a little different, and actually, not having a Saturday night in this series is going to be a little bit odd. But obviously, with both teams, being the first or two of the first in the conference to get out of it, you can see why they're going to start this way.
Absolutely. We're repeating what we were doing 2 years ago, where the Leafs played Florida. The Leafs had home ice. The Leafs felt pretty confident 2 years ago. Florida had not completely established who they would eventually become. When you look at this Leaf team, Ralphie, if you can remember how you felt about that team 2 years ago, how would you compare and contrast the two?
Well, 2 years ago, let's not forget that we won Florida chance. Mm-hmm. Everybody thought, we avoid Boston and we'll take Florida, and the rest, as they say, is history. So that's the old careful what you wish for. I will say this from a Leafs standpoint, even from a year ago, I think you like the three different defensemen they have from a year ago on all three pairings. I think you like the goaltending better than you did a year ago. The fourth line you like better. Second, third, or the third line especially, I think is still a work in progress, trying to find its identity. And you have to like what you got out of the core four, point wise and leadership wise, in the first round. Having said that, the Florida Panthers, as Craig Berube said, they're going to be the favorites because of the Stanley Cup champs. Until somebody says you're not anymore. So I still find it a little bit odd that even though the Leafs have home ice advantage, I think, rightfully so, they're the underdogs in this series, and you got to knock the king off the throne, before you can advance. But I mean, this could be, if they could ever go on that magical run and get to the Stanley Cup Finals, this could be the one series that you said that was it. That was the series that springboarded them there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's your toughest challenge. Ralph, you just laid out some things. What would you think, if you had to pick maybe one as your X factor? Is it just easy as Stolarz has to be as good or better than Bob, or is it something different that you would lay out that could be a difference maker in this series?
Oh, Noodles, I got to stick with the goaltending.
Yeah.
I do think that's a huge part of it, and not to jump on Elias Samsonov, especially from 2 years ago. But I don't know how you guys feel about it when you go back to that series with Florida 2 years ago. You thought it was a 5-game series for Florida. Florida controlled the series. You never really had a feeling the Leafs were in it. They never got any traction, and yet first game was a 4-2 win for Florida. The next 4 were 1-goal games, including 2 overtime games that Florida won. And to me, goaltending was the difference in that. And I'm not saying, because the Leafs didn't score. They weren't scoring 4 or 5 goals a game and losing, but Bobrovsky was just better in that series. So I think it is. I know it sounds like we're simplifying it a little bit, but I think if Stolarz can play even with Bobrovsky, that's probably their best chance to get out of the series.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and maybe go a step further and steal a game or two. I mean, that's expected if you're going to go on a run. That has to happen, right? At some point, it's going to happen. But let's presume that happens. Let's say Stolarz and Bob are a wash. And you mentioned the 3D, the new defensemen in Tanev and Carlo and Ekman-Larsson, and I totally agree with that assessment, Ralphie. I feel better about these 6 defensemen as a collection than I have any other Leaf six-pack over the last 20 years. But then it gets to up front, and specifically the best players, and Matthews and Marner and Nylander and Tavares. How do they handle the heat that's going to come their way? The Panthers are going to attack. They're going to try to get their licks in. They're going to try to drag them into the fight. They're going to try to make their lives as difficult as possible. What will make you believe, okay, something's different here? What would you have to see out of those players, let's say starting tonight, to say, okay, the message has gotten through, they've gotten it, and it's all good, and these guys are not 4 players you have to worry about if you're a Leaf fan?
Well, I would say from Craig Berube to the players, if after game 1 nobody is using the line, they did a good job keeping us to the outside.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be the battle. I think, when you look at the goals Matthew Nye scored in the first round, that has got to be your goal. To score the 3-footers on deflections. Look at, Winnipeg's comeback late last night. Throw pucks to the net and get people there. They're not going to give you a lot of odd man rushes. There's not going to be a lot of breakdowns in their end. You're going to have to bulldoze your way to the front of the net and earn your breaks. And so I think that's going to be the key. If there's talk about they did a good job keeping us to the outside, that meant we couldn't find a way to get there. And, I think that was a narrative 2 years ago, and I think that's what they've got to avoid. And, in a lot of ways, I think, with the emergence of Nyes, with what you've seen from John Tavares, hopefully there's more there from Bobby McMahon and in this series. And, what do you like about the fourth line that can go out and crash and bang? And maybe you've got another big goal in a series scored by Max Pacioretty from Max Domi and Pontus Holmberg, But I think that's going to be the key to the series. Aside from the rough stuff, the physical play and everything else, they've got to be the aggressors and getting to the net in the offensive zone.
How big of a factor do you think Brad Marchand will
It's weird that he's in this game. Like, he's out there as a Florida Panther.
Yeah, you can't get rid of the Bruins, can you?
No, you can't, man.
You got to play the former Bruin Vezina Trophy winner in the first round, and now their former captain in the second round. So it's the ghosts of the Boston Bruins have got to be floating around somewhere. Maybe that's why they gave up so much to get Brandon Carlo, to try to steal part of the Holy Grail that has beaten them. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I know he hasn't scored yet in the playoffs. Only had a couple of goals. Now, was hurt when they acquired him from Boston right at the trade deadline, but. I think it's up to the Leafs to sort of not allow him to become the distraction. You might have to take the odd sucker punch in a scrum to the face, but I think you can be the aggressor with him as well. Somebody grab him by the cuff and ragdoll him a little bit. So that's another thing with that is how do you handle their toughness? How do you handle these guys that like to mix it up in scrums? There's no reason that you can't do the same thing, and the Leafs do have some personnel that should be able to do it. So it's going to be an interesting chess game. I think we probably got two of the best coaches left in the league as far as content for post-game interviews and everything else. Paul Maurice is, I still think, one of my favorites, and Craig Berube is pretty good at it as well. So it's got all the ingredients to be a very interesting, nasty. Fun series. I think exciting series for fans from both sides of it.
Game one tonight, Leafs Panthers right here on TSN Radio. Joe Bowen, Jim Ralph with the call. We're chatting with Ralphie right now. And you mentioned Berube, like Craig Berube kind of scoffed at the idea that Florida's a mean team and almost looked as if he was confused by that description. And I like that. I appreciate his approach. How much do you think his attitude and the way he sees the game, what does that count for in terms of the Maple Leafs and them going into this challenge?
Well, I thought it was huge against Ottawa.
Yeah.
I don't think he's just all talk and then, says different things to the players behind. He said, we never had any concerns, and why are we always talking about the core four? And, we all have our own thoughts on what this team's demons are. But I also went back and watched, the year he won the Cup with St. Louis in 2019, they played San Jose. And San Jose went up in the second game of the series. You remember, this is why the hand pass review was brought in, where Erik Karlsson scored in overtime. It was a hand pass. I think it was Thomas Hertl, if I'm not mistaken, or Timo Meier. There was a hand pass, and Biddington went nuts after the game. They go down 2-1 in the series. And Craig Berube, after that game, I saw the clip, he just basically said, hey, you move on. Yeah, they missed the call, didn't go our way, you move on. You don't dwell on it. And this is the team that turns around and wins the Stanley Cup. So I think he's got a huge effect on this group going forward.
Yeah, well, business-like. That's his comment, right?
And very matter of fact.
Yep.
And it's not, if you win a game, it doesn't mean anything. You like right off the bat with the playoffs started, he said every game is going to get harder. Every series is going to get harder. And what I liked in a very small way is, and I realized when they beat Tampa 2 years ago in Game 6 overtime, overtime's a little bit different celebration, But this year, there wasn't this huge celebration on the bench that we've accomplished something, we've won. It was, by comparison, very subdued. Like I said, I realized one was in overtime and one wasn't, but I kind of liked the fact that it was just sort of like, okay, we got through it. Now let's get ready for the next step.
Yeah, completely different. You're right. And that might have led to the reaction where a couple of years ago, I was saying this earlier, Ralphie, when the Leafs beat Tampa, I thought, okay, monkey off your back. Now you're going to take off. And obviously it didn't happen. And you have to credit Florida for a lot of that, the way that they performed in that series. But you do look back on the way Keefe reacted and Dubas reacted and all the players reacted. And I understand it was a huge relief because at that point it was you can't win a playoff series. Like that was the bar. Can you win 4 games or can you avoid choking? And it was clearly a sense of relief. And I think you bring up a really good point. Like Thursday night was an incredibly subdued reaction from the Leafs. Like it was kind of almost like gloves and sticks on, helmets on, go through the handshake line, all business, see you later. I do have an appreciation for that because, these guys, you got to be happy that you won.
Yeah.
But what is your goal in mind? Is it to win one round or is it to win 4? Exactly.
Yeah, and if you saw Florida Noodles after they beat Tampa in the first round, there wasn't, I was like, who's going to get the water bottles from the Nets? Let's get out of here.
Exactly. Very, very like mature and professional and business.
Been there, done that, right? Like that's the thing. You gotta either go through the process or act like you've been there and done that. And I think you with the Leafs beating Ottawa, you're right. Like it was, hey, we're happy, but we're not satisfied, type of thing. And that's even Winnipeg scoring in overtime. Like I think people were elated. Obviously, like that was different, but I didn't see any helmets and gloves on the ice.
Like Hellebuck went through the line with his helmet on.
Yeah.
Like watching the handshake line, I'm like, you've been playing like 4.5 periods.
Yeah.
Take your helmet off. And he's like, no. And I don't know if it's just that superstition or you hadn't thought of it or what.
Who knows?
But
like that was a unique. At first, I thought Binnington didn't shake hands, but then I realized he was the first guy in line.
Okay, so he went through and then
the first guy in line.
I see.
Because I was like, why is he? Because he was out.
They were showing him picking up sticks or whatever.
And I was like, okay, but yeah, he was the first St. Louis Blue in line, and that I thought that was telltale. Like that was, an amazing game.
What a game!
And,
what a battle!
A great battle. You got 3 Canadian teams left, Ralph.
Yeah, Ralphie. You got 3 Canadian tickets.
Hey, but Noodles, how about this? And Hazy too, but Noodles, especially from a goalie standpoint, those 2 comebacks on the weekend. Oh. You've got the Rantanen goal, the second one on the wraparound that goes off a defenseman's skate.
I know.
You got the second goal for Winnipeg goes off Suter's skate, and then the winning goal in overtime goes off 2 guys and in.
Yeah,
that's
there's nothing you can do.
And the thing is, and I remember reading Dick Irvin's book years ago, and he talked about his father, the late Dick Irvin Sr., as he always referred to him, and he always talked about the hand of God, that the hockey gods somewhere along the way to win a championship, you have to get those breaks, and the better you play, the odds go up. But nothing's guaranteed. It is just amazing. You go back to maybe the Simon Benoit goal that sneaks through. Yep. All these different little moments that you say, wow, you go back and you circle that as what a turning point in a series or in a game. And I just couldn't help but feel bad for the goalies that lost in those games because you're saying, my God, there's nothing you can do on these. As good as the goaltending was in both those Game 7s, to have them decided off skates and some bad bounces. It's heartbreaking, but that's why we love the game.
Yeah, that's kind of what you expected, right? You thought if this is going to go in, it's going to be Pionk shooting it. It goes off a defenseman, off Lowry's pants and in. And everyone after the game, I was laughing because it's like Lowry's more skilled than he gets credit for, which I agree with.
Right.
But he scored off his pants.
Right, yeah.
Like he didn't go end to end.
His reaction, I think, was more surprised. Like, oh my God, it went in. Yeah.
It hit me and it went in.
Elation.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah. And relief in the end. Well, game 1 tonight. Leafs Panthers, 8 p.m. puck drop. Pregame going to start around 7 o'clock. Intermissions, postgame, the whole thing on TSN 1050. And, of course, the call with Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph. Ralphie, great catching up with you. I'll see you down there. Enjoy it tonight. Have a great call, and we'll do it again soon.
All right. Thanks, boys.
Thanks,
there
Ralphie.
He is, Jimmy Ralph, joining us from the radio booth.
Save you some ice cream before the Tat Man.
Yeah, I haven't done the ice cream thing yet, but I have found a way to get. There's some pizza usually kicking around. That is going to be on the menu tonight.
Did they hide it? Did they hide it in a drawer or something?
It should be hidden. You should see.
There's a bunch of pigs
I'm as guilty as anybody else.
But I went out one time and it was like a rodeo for it.
Oh yeah. You know what's awkward is when people are hanging around it and you're like, I'm dying to get over there, but I don't want to have to like fight through traffic, and then people are like, "Hey, what do you got there?"
If you're a germaphobe, you can't even look at it too because people stick their hand right in there.
Oh yeah, they've got the tongs there, and people bypass those completely.
It's the tongs. I watched. I think I've told you this. The popcorn machine. I watched a cameraman walk by one time and just stick his hand in and have a handful and keep going.
No problem. Not even a thought in the world.
Yeah, if you're a germaphobe, you cannot look at that type of media setup there because you'll be horrified. But
that applies to everything in life. If you're a germaphobe, everything bothers you.
I understand that. You can't go to what's that?
It's a very unstable
What's that buffet
lifestyle.
We would go to that?
Well, the Mandarin was famous for it. Yeah. You go to the Mandarin, it's a wild scene.
It's a wild scene.
I haven't been there in a long time, but
yeah, like the Mandarin, I think, didn't they shut down during COVID? Like they had to.
I think it's mandatory. I mean, yeah, you can't have a buffet running.
They had splash guards and like it just. I remember the one time we went, there were like kids just reaching in, grabbing stuff.
Well, exactly. Kids are guilty. I've seen my kids do it. I'm like, they just grab those, and then you go, hey, no, and then they put it back.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, well, no, don't put it back. You got to keep it now. But
that's. Those media upstairs, especially, there is.
Oh, I'm going through the gauntlet tonight.
It is the equivalent of the Mandarin.
Yeah,
and it's all the same cast of characters.
Oh, it's always, man. It's great to see everybody down there.
And the only guy who doesn't do it is Jonas because Jonas has his.
Jonas and Masters. Masters apparently I thought I heard his wife had made him like some oatmeal or something for the first round. This guy was just mashing oatmeal the whole first round.
Really?
And Jonas brings his rabbit food.
Yes,
like he brings the seeds and
the nuts
celery and the carrots. Yeah. And he eats very healthy the whole time.
Yeah, it is.
I've never seen him eat anything unhealthy.
Really?
Ever.
That's true. I've never
never
here
seen
he
it.
eats his.
Like if he came in here and we had like Boston pizza dropped off, he'd be like, I'm okay.
I don't know if I've never seen him. We should ask him if he has I'm sure he like Gary Roberts. I played with Gary Roberts. People don't know this, but like he likes ice cream. Like that's his Now I don't think he eats it every day, or I think it's like
you got to have some like restraint.
But there was. I remember, like he would have like a scoop of ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
But it was probably nowadays it's probably some sort of
it's good for you.
Yeah, it's some sort of like real ice cream.
Yeah, it's got something in there.
Special cow, and who knows? That's what Rob's would have, but. Now, I think, guys, if you're in moderation, eat what you want, but just eat moderate. Don't egg out. That's how I felt.
Moderation?
Yeah.
That's what you support and you advocate for?
Yeah, eat what you want. Just exercise and
keep everything on the rails. Then you can be like the O-Dog, where earlier this afternoon he said, when he wasn't moderating, his car was a disaster. His dressing room was a disaster. I'm going down there in 20 minutes. I'm going to go down before I go down to the game, and I'm going to post it on Instagram. I'll post it on my Instagram stories. I'm going to do the walk-in, and I'm going to post it.
I think it's a mess. I think there's empty water bottles there. I think and who knows what he's got in there, as far as, because there's stuff that just there's Gatorade bottles that are left out for talent, and then all of a sudden they're in his.
Oh, dude, this guy used to smuggle. Yeah. He used to smuggle the sour keys and all the gummies and stuff. We'd go there on trade deadline.
Yeah.
TSN nice enough to supply people with a bunch. He would walk out with a case of Gatorade and 2 buckets of whatever snacks were down there.
Whatever's not nailed down.
There's 100 people here.
I know.
And this guy would be smuggling them into his dressing room.
Exactly.
Stop, drop, and roll.
That's what's in there. I'm telling you.
I think you're right. Although JP brings up a good point. He left an hour ago. There's a chance he's over there cleaning up,
he might have,
knowing I'm en route.
Not him cleaning up. He's asked somebody.
He could have paid somebody to come in.
And he hands somebody a 50 and goes, go in there and make sure there's not a raccoon.
I'm going to post. If there's a raccoon in there, you're going to see it. At B Hayes on air on Insta. I will post the story. I might have to review it first because I'm worried.
Yeah.
To your point, there's something in there where I'm like, why
there's
is that
a pair
in there?
of underpants. Like hanging on a chair that you do not want to see.
That is my concern. I might have to actually edit this thing.
You might have to like have it blurred out.
Like there's a chance he's in there.
That's true.
Doing God knows what.
You can't throw the door open and just snap.
If I do a snap and post, there is a really significant chance that someone's going to be offended by that.
There's some trouble.
All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. If you get on the FanDuel Sportsbook app, you can see our picture right there, the Overdrive crew.
We're there.
Right, we're up there, right there on the front page, and we have an SGP, a same-game parlay for the game tonight. I'm going under the number. We're going under 5.5. It just feels like a 3-2 game.
I feel like
3-1, tight checking. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 0-0 after the first. Just kind of ease into it. Both goalies show up. Both teams, physical, defend, don't cheat, be on the right side of the puck.
I just feel like you just said that. I'm like, it's going to be 3-0 after the
3-0 after
or 3-2.
10 period.
It'll be
10 minutes
3-2.
in.
Yeah, no, yeah. I do feel like a tight game.
I feel like a tight game, and Florida has been playing a lot of lower scoring games, and even the Leafs, it was game 2, game 3. That was 3-2 games.
Yeah, they were.
Marner 2+ shots on goal. Nylander 3+ shots on goal. Both of those in 60 minutes, not including overtime. So there's your parlay under 5.5. Marner 2+ shots. Nylander 3+ shots, paying plus 480 on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Live same-game parlays are now available for every Stanley Cup playoff game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 18+, physically located in Ontario. Panthers are favored to win a game tonight, which is, again, it's like I get it. I understand why. Like Florida, they had more of a break.
Yeah.
At least only played one more game, but still. They're the Panthers.
Is it close to a pick'em, though?
It's pretty close to a pick'em. Yeah, it's pretty close. And I think that's the way it should be. For me, this is a coin flip game. I think, you're going to need that. That's assuming the goaltending shows up on both sides. The special teams are relatively close. Not a ton of power plays one way or the other. I think it's going to come down to who can break through in tight areas, probably in the third period.
We'll know a lot more tomorrow, but I feel like, I guess this is the one. This is a weird thing to say, but we'll maybe do a Jerry's on it. Do you think there'll be a suspension in the series?
I'm going to say, history would tell you it should be 100%, but I'm going to say 40%.
Might be low on it too.
Yeah,
I feel like they're, it's just going to be a different series. And I'm not going to say it's a bloodbath or anything. It's just going to be a different series than what you saw last week. That's my point. I don't know what that means.
Well,
I just got a different feel.
It feels like it's going to be more intense, more physical, more hatred should be there.
Right.
Like you would think.
Should be some more.
Like that's because Florida's going to probably drag you in with not cheap shots, but they're going to, if they can get a lick on you, they're going to get one.
Yeah, they're going to agitate. I agree.
And the Leafs, we'll see if it's in their DNA to match it or for them to be proactive and say, actually, we're going to take you out.
But it doesn't mean that. I'm talking both sides.
Yeah,
like, there's still shady hits on both sides, not on just one side.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. Like, you can't go, Florida plays dirty, the Leafs don't. We've seen gray area hits on both sides.
Yes.
Like, it's not just one. So, in the end, I don't know. It's a weird, we'll discuss it tomorrow. It's more of like a bigger.
Okay.
But
I like that mini Jerry, though. I like that mini Jerry going into the series. This is when you got to get it out. Once you start playing games, all bets are off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there it is. Toronto plus 104 tonight. Florida minus 125, courtesy of FanDuel.
Yeah.
It's effectively a pick 'em. I think that's reasonable.
Tight game. I feel like
go get one tonight if you're the Leafs. And I got my eyes on Mitch Marner tonight. Like he just had a kid yesterday. He and his wife. It's his birthday today. I don't know if that means anything, but like his life has been kind of turned upside down.
Yeah.
Yet, you hear a lot of pro athletes say that once I get to the rink, then I can actually escape,
just relax and play hockey
and play.
Exactly.
And listen, he's got a channel. I thought he had some good moments in the first round. I think he can be better. Yeah. He's got to channel that Four Nations type of, when it's tight out there, when you don't have a lot of room, you are crafty enough to make the plays.
Yeah, do something.
You got to do something tonight.
Yeah,
starts tonight. All right, Leafs Panthers right here on TSN Radio. Puck drop at 8 p.m. Full breakdown tomorrow.
Perfect time.
Full breakdown tomorrow. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.